What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're brand new. This is Darian and Tech, our channel name. We recently just rebranded to Darian and Tech. It used to be called Darian the Dev, where we pretty much talked about everything from, coding boot camps, getting a junior developer job. That's what Sorry if you hear some noise coming from the background right now. It's trash day, so that's what's going on. Um, but I'm super excited to be here with y'all today, man. It's been a while since we done live stream, and we have a great guest coming in. My boy Justin is gonna be here shortly, and I'm really excited for y'all to get a chance to talk to him. This time, he's been on the channel a few times before, but this time we're gonna actually focus more on talking about our careers in IT and just technical careers and just all the different paths and different ways that you can go in this field, in this industry. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into it more when Justin joins in a second. But I went to coding bootcamp in 2018. Justin also went to the same coding bootcamp as me, and he finished the year before me in 2017. Excuse me. And so our first professional jobs after coding bootcamp is where Justin and I met each other, and we both worked as software engineers, C#.net, at this particular company together. And I mean, we just have a relationship outside of work and our coding boot camp and everything. So we've just kept in touch over the years, and I always bring him on kind of regularly because I love his perspective on his career. And just again, everyone has a different story, in tech. So it's always really good getting that different perspective. And so I'm really excited for y'all to get a chance to hear Justin tonight, and his story, what he does, where he works, and kind of how his journey has gone after boot camp. So don't hesitate. Make sure y'all put any questions down in the chat, and then we're gonna keep it real casual. Justin and I are gonna answer all the questions that you guys have, as well as going over our own topics related to technical IT career type stuff. So give it a few minutes for Justin to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started real quick. I'm just gonna make sure I'm gonna mute myself real quick, and then just make sure that I can hear everything on our stream. Be right back with the audio in a second. All right, bet we're good. We're good. We're good. So I think Justin might be a few minutes behind. So I'll just go ahead and kind of lay out some of the topics that we plan on covering tonight with y'all. So just quick about me. Before we switched the channel name to Darian and Tech, like I said, I was, a coding bootcamp grad working as a C#.net engineer. And I had two jobs professionally as a C#.net developer. And recently this year, uh, actually the 1st of November was my first day as a technical product manager in my new role. And I'm really excited to kind of talk about some of the differences from the business side, from the technical side of things, which obviously is still a technical role, but just a completely different side of the company. And then let's see, we're gonna dive into pretty much what our goals are for our careers. So obviously, getting out of software engineering was a goal of mine, and so now being in the product side of things, that was a goal. But talking about kind of the steps along the way to that, and some of the experience that kind of had to be there to make that transition, and then also like our goals going into the near future in our careers. So I'm excited to talk about that. Working from home is going to be another topic that we touch on because um, you know going on almost 2 years now. It's kind of crazy to think that it's already been like close to 2 years that we've been working remotely, but I think there's a lot of things that people might think in terms of assumptions about working from home and everything. So talk about some pros and cons of working from home and kind of like what that's been like, and then also career progression in the job market. So how do once you get into tech, how do you stay in tech? How do you stay relevant with your job skills, with the things that you're learning, the things that you're doing. Um, so those are really important, and we're definitely going to be touching on that. And the job market is really crazy right now, as I'm sure a lot of y'all know. With this whole Great Resignation thing, there's been like millions of people quitting their jobs, and there's a huge labor shortage in a lot of different industries. So in terms of where the job market is right now, there's just so many opportunities for people to reskill, get new jobs, change industries, change careers. And yeah, we're going to get into a little bit of that too, what we see in the job market. And then another topic I want to touch on is kind of reflecting on our time as developers and like things that we took away from, which I think Justin is still a developer right now, but he's transitioning, I believe, into a different role. So just things that we learned and took away from our time working as engineers. I think it's going to be, really, really interesting because there's just so many things that you could, learn or take away from it. So let's give me just a second, y'all. Let me shoot a text and let me just make sure everything's still good and make sure we can get Justin in here, and then we'll get started as soon as he's here. All right. I'm gonna go on mute for just 1 second. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Bringing in the man right now.
Hey, sorry about, dude. I was getting like my dog situated and everything like that, and I just logged into the Google Meet and just sat there like an asshole. You
Oh
know,
no, no, yeah. You're good. I
so
actually saw your letter pop up in there, but I didn't know if yeah, it's not a big deal, man. Um, what's up, man? Where are you right now?
Chattanooga,
Okay,
Chattanooga, yeah, for at least for the next 6 months, and then
okay.
we'll see what's going on. I'm actually so my I don't mean to just segue right into what we're going to talk about, but
Mm. No,
the
it's casual, man. Go ahead, go ahead.
my mom got a job in tech, dude.
Oh yeah, I remember
Um,
you saying that Ohio, right?
Yeah, yeah. So they're like super remote except for like 3 or 4 days a month. So she still has to move there. So
Mm.
what we looked at rental prices in Eastern Ohio, like we're talking like you know 20 minutes or so away from southwest of Akron or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, $1,800 a month, $2,000 a month for
Really?
two bedroom, two bath, which is what we have right now. And in Tennessee, it's 1,300,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So we're looking at that, and I'm just like, you know what? We found a couple of options in the area, and like we're just gonna there's a company that kind of like does everything for you. They like bought up a subdivision, they're building all these houses or whatever. So we're
Hmm.
actually just getting one of those.
Okay.
So I'll be using that as like a home base moving forward. And then like my mom's basically gonna rent it from me, if, I guess. It's not really like that, but
Hmm.
that's kind of what it is because I'm not really. I mean, I just flat out told her like I already lived in Ohio for 2 years. Like I have no intention of.
Yeah.
no, no offense to people from Ohio, but like sorry, not sorry. Like that close to Columbus, with the football background from Michigan. Like yeah, I don't know, it's problematic, but It's more or less like that's more of a societal like people American thing in my view. So um, while I do want to go travel and stuff, I can't do so in good conscience without knowing that my mom's set up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're getting a house, we're getting everything set up in Ohio over the next 6 months. We get moved up there, and then hasta la vista. I'm basically I've got a permanent address in the U.S. in Ohio, but that doesn't mean I have to ever be there. You
No, man.
know?
Actually, I'm glad you brought it up because like I don't know if you had a chance to go through, but that's gonna be one of the topics tonight. Like I just want to.
Yep.
So like, basically, I want it to be super laid back, casual. You know what I'm saying? Day after Thanksgiving, I'm having a brewski.
Nice.
Basically, just want to share as much um career and IT stuff. A lot of our last couple of streams have been like really dev heavy and
Dev
stuff
stuff.
like that. Yeah, which is not it's not a bad thing, but I'm just realizing there's just so much more to this world. Like, you know what I mean?
Dude, I got a story that just happened yesterday that
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
that'll
yeah,
be
yeah.
is everything set up? Like are we good or do you need like a
Oh
like I
no,
don't
we're
know, maybe
good. We're
oh
live.
okay.
Audio's good. Yeah, we're
Oh, okay,
streaming.
right on. I dated myself. You know, I'm an OG Facebook user. Have patience with me, right? Um, no, so I mean, a couple weeks back, you and I talked, and you put me on the PMP stuff, right?
Mhm.
And that just got in my head, and then like
Mhm.
I couldn't, because like I knew it was right, but I just didn't know exactly why yet, so it
Mhm.
was just me. I just couldn't get it out of my head.
Mhm.
Went through research a bunch of MBA programs, and I was really just spending a lot of time thinking about the next 3 to 5 years from now based on what I know now 5 years in,
Mhm.
and it just totally changed. Like it was a great oh it was great timing because like right where I'm at right now with my job,
Mhm.
I'm facing this exact question. Like
Mhm.
it's the fork in the road moment
That's
where
it.
like
Yep.
I need to figure out which way I'm gonna go with this long term, and I
Yep.
kind of got to commit to one and start nurturing that skill.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that's where my head was at. I'm like, PMP on stuff, and then like my buddy, he used to work at UWM with us. He's where I work now, but he's a database developer, but he works in the same company as me, but he's also carrying just a total additional second job because they're both because they're
Oh,
both remote. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, 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 yeah.
he's got the two computers sitting right in front of him, and he's just back and forth running two jobs, collecting two salaries, and
That's
that and,
amazing. Yeah.
and that shit got in my head too. So I was like, you know what? I know I can make this work. Like I'm looking at all the different angles and stuff, and eventually a recruiter that I worked with in the past threw like a React Native job in my lap, and like I read through the job description and everything, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm like, this would be good. I could do the project management stuff for my job during the day with what I got now, and then
Mhm.
like I actually get some development time in too, and I'll be able to get a whole second salary, and then
Mm.
it'll also get me into the mobile game, and like I just talked myself into the whole ordeal, and like I did they hit me with a skills assessment last night, and like we talked about before, I worked with React, like a year or so.
Mhm.
Generally, no, I know the basics for sure. Definitely some of the advanced stuff. I'm not like a wizard at it or anything like that, but they hit me with
Mhm.
this assessment that was like honestly the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like it was honestly like it was 4 questions. They give you the heads up, like, hey, be ready to copy and paste this out of here into your own editor or whatever. So I went through ahead of time, like, all right, you know what? Let me get ahead of this, create React app, bam, 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 bam. I get the whole thing running. I
Mhm.
got the main component. I'm like, all right, this is my workspace, ready to go.
Mhm.
Try to do the copy and paste from their like website and thing doesn't work. So I'm in their actual like editor, and it was one of those half-ass ones that companies outsource to,
Mm.
like just a shitty version of like some of the ones that we've used in the past, like I forget their name, Lead Code and all that shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just a really bad version of that, and like I couldn't get it going. Not only was it just a horrible experience on that front, but the questions that they were asking weren't clear. Yeah, and I'm talking about just the English that was asking the questions. Like a lot
Mm.
of that wasn't clear, and they were using like it was basically a bunch of half-written components. Like so, they would set up a puzzle for you. Here's the scenario, and they would basically build out half of the thing for you, and then just write your code here and okay, fill in the
Oh
blank.
yeah, right, right, right. Okay.
But the thing is like they were using a bunch of class components, which even a year ago when I was, over a year ago when I was at Ford, like the React core team had already said like, hey, class components are moving us in a bad direction. Let's go. We're gonna make a functional push. We're functional. That's when like hooks dropped and all that kind of stuff. And they moved like because object-oriented classes don't really jive with prototypal or inheritance on the JavaScript side, right? It's just misleading. And I read that directly from the React core team's documentation. Like that's not me making that up. But now fast forward, a year and a half later, and I'm sitting here like, dude, I haven't written a class component in like 2 years. I don't, and they throw me into this like riddle situation with like a class component that I'm just really, it's just really awkward. And like in the real world, I could either one, ask for help, or two, sit there and just chisel my way through it. Like, all right, console log everything. Like I could grind my way through that. But because they took the tool set from me, one, it was a problem. And then two, because, it's working on an existing application is one thing where it's like everything right now, I can at least assume that it's working as intended. Like I'm just trying to wedge in this feature. And as long as my stuff doesn't overlap other people's stuff, I can get that feature added, right? But when I've never been in a scenario where it's just like, oh, hey, Darian wrote this component and he got it to the halfway mark. Now we need you to finish it. And because there's just so many assumptions and like you got like intent and like, not to mention I was shaking off some rust, admittedly, because I've been working in Vue at my job now. So it was a little bit of arrogance on my front thinking that I could just hop back in and do it. But once I got there, it was just like halfway through, I just kind of was like, you know what? This is in no way indicative of my actual skill set whatsoever. I think these questions are stupid. I think this entire thing is like totally misguided. And like if the goal is to evaluate my skills, it's not going to do that. I'm just going to walk, and I just kind of quit halfway through, send a message like, hey, I'm not really, if there's any indication kind of how this job's going to go, I don't really, like, it's not for me. So, I'm just
where was it? Where was this at again? Like what?
It was just one of the many job emails that come my way. It just kind of fell into my lap.
I got you.
And it was with a recruiter that I had worked with in the past, so I trusted them.
I got you.
So I gave it a shot. But as soon as I was done, I immediately could see the error in my way. It's like, oh shit, those are two different lives. Like, okay, because my buddy, the one that's doing two database jobs, he's in the database world all the time. That's all he's doing, and it's here and here. It's keeping things separate, but same skill, right? Like to go from Vue and like internal applications to just hop over to React Native, it was like, all right, that's a mistake. So I need to like retool and just refocus, which is exactly what all these topics are talking about. Doesn't get any easier. That's the one thing I've.
Yeah, well, I mean, so yeah, that's what's interesting. So like, there's so many different roles in tech, right? Is what I'm realizing. So many different ways of going about like working. Like, there's people who work in cybersecurity. I just found this out. They like don't even code. Like they do policy. Like there are people who literally just work in policy for cybersecurity, making sure like the language and certain things like that are written in a certain way. I'm like, but it's still considered
with exactly,
but it's still considered a cybersecurity / IT job, which but at the heart of all these different roles, right? There's a million different ways you can go, but at the heart of it, it's code. Like at the end of the day, I mean, that's what this entire field wraps around, right? So while I don't think you have to go like on our route, coding bootcamp or learn to code, like or a CS degree or any of those things, I don't think you have to. I think one of the things we're both able to touch on is like the importance of that skill though, and like learning it or having experience in it to set you up for pretty much whatever else you want. I can't say that it'll be that way in the next 10, 15, 20 years, but as of right now, with software engineering experience, you can almost create or carve a career path in IT. And that's
I've basically evangelized that to even my non-IT friends, where it's basically like, oh, you're a lawyer? Well, you should probably learn Python. and it's just like, like, hey, I can't guarantee that it's going to help, but like if you do have a working knowledge of Python and you want to just like store a bunch of files, do some natural language processing, store things in a database, run some analytics on them. If you know how to do that yourself, you are now both a lawyer and lethal. Because how many lawyers know how to write Python, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, more so on like my friends that on like they're just run of the mill business professionals. I don't really know what else to call them outside of tech, but they're just regular traditional business people.
Right.
I'm telling them like, hey, minimum Power BI, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
might even want to look at like cloud admin, the no code roles. But like, look, there's some things that I'm hearing, not to go, I'm not quoting Donald Trump there. The I'm hearing they're saying the people are saying that like automation is coming, right? And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I can guarantee you that there are people that are going to get steamrolled. So it's just a matter of hedging against that. And like, so I'm every time I this stuff comes up, I'm like, you guys, yeah, honestly, I've got all these resources. Let me know if you want to look into it. I'm not going to spoon feed you, but like, you, you might want to protect yourself from some of the shit that's coming down the pipe. Like,
No, definitely. And it's getting crazier, and that's the thing that I think about. Like, I understand. So I have an aunt in my family who always makes this argument that like everybody isn't tech, everybody isn't technical, everybody can't do technical stuff. I kind of almost want to like at this point going into 2022 as we're like wrapping up this year. I really almost want to argue against that point and say, yeah, no, everything is tech.
yeah,
Like there
yeah,
is no job. Tell me a job function today that doesn't involve some use of a software, a screen, a device. Like
yeah.
and
Yeah, honestly, I think one of the best like business models like for the next like 10 years or 20 years or something is just like taking advantage of the digital transformation. So like behind big tech, but in tech still, where it's like these mom and pop shop companies that are like trying to build out their IT team, but they don't really know
mm-hmm,
what they're doing.
mm-mm,
All these people that are trying to catch up to all the things that the big dogs are doing, right?
right,
And like they all need teams that are going to build all that stuff out. It's the way I in one conversation, the way it was talked about was like similar to how like the railroads were built across the United States, right? Like fiber is similar, but like I'm talking about the actual code and like, and granted the cloud has kind of taken that filled that void a bit, but there's still, I mean, the cloud's not everything. You still have to connect
mm-hmm,
to things. You still need to move things around and run your business at the end of the day. So
mm-hmm,
I completely agree. Like honestly, I just want to say okay boomer. Like okay boomer. When someone says some shit like that to me, like,
mm-hmm.
oh, let me guess, I should just invest. I should just sit on my pension, my non-existent pension, and just buy a house in 1975 when I
I
should
mean,
have,
yeah,
like, I don't
yeah,
know what to tell you. It's just not based in the
no,
reality the rest of us are looking at,
no, it's not. And then if you look at the last year, it's crazy how like coronavirus did a lot of different things. Like not only in, I mean, I don't know, I don't know how like how much you want to ping pong over this convo because right now I feel like, but it might be all good. It was kind of
Yeah, yeah.
bounce around, but
It,
but
still
like
very relevant.
yeah, exactly. Because in the last year, you at least I feel like I saw that there are already things ready to take your job right now. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it isn't capable. What do I mean? I remember going to Panera Bread last year and seeing no cashiers. Like walking into Panera Bread, everything is tablets. And you literally just order everything, you pay right there at the tablet, and then you just walk up to the pickup counter and just pick up your food. It was actually a much more pleasant experience. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, it was like, hey, I don't think this is just a COVID thing. Like, this isn't just a temporary social distancing. We're
It,
gonna bring back the cashiers. Like, it doesn't make any sense. This is way more
nope.
convenient. And even
This is
my
a,
customer experience, my buying experience was better
it's better,
because
yeah.
of that. Like,
Yeah,
honestly, like,
everything's just tailored to you. Like, dude, it was like 3 years. It was we were in the old building at the old place. And I went to Quebec City, and I walked into a McDonald's, and same deal. You walked in, and it was just like four kiosks
mm-hmm,
right at the 10 feet past the entrance. Right, you
mm-hmm,
just bam, click, 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 and then you just wait
mm-hmm.
in line, and they eventually call your order out, hand it to you. You don't have to fuck with any of that.
It's
And this is
crazy.
before that was before in Canada and before the pandemic. But
Yeah.
to your point, like I don't see how like stuff like that is not gonna keep happening
No,
because
exactly.
no help's coming from, like, all right, so what we're just to keep it like macro, like with
Mm-hmm.
coronavirus and stuff, what did it show me? One, it jump started this whole remote thing. So like, I mean, you
Exactly.
and I were talking about this way back, like
Exactly.
before this it was even a thing,
Mm-hmm.
but we got a huge jumpstart with this. So it's like it's
Mm-hmm.
benefited us in that regard. But it's
Mm-hmm.
also showed and accelerated, like, to me personally, and like I studied abroad in Spain, so like I've been pretty off the American train for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But at no point, that was just culturally. I wanted to just go better weather, drink wine, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
other things,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
like at no point did I really look at America as like incompetent or a lost cause or whatever. And fast forward till now, and like watching us through the pandemic, it's like, okay, COVID is what it is, and you can have your opinions about that, but I kind of view it as like a dress rehearsal for whatever comes next.
Mm-hmm.
And like, given how we've handled this, like I just have no faith. I have no faith in this situation anymore. We've just decided, it's just all my opinion here, but we've just decided that America is going to be run like a business. The traditional role of government be damned, and that's just, we put all our eggs in that basket. And I think the only fair response from where I'm sitting is to respond to that and treat them exactly how they're treating everybody else, and that's as a business. So basically, America, the API, where it's like I will, with remote work now, I have the ability to live elsewhere, take my income tax. That's where my income's coming from. All's fair. I have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, you're not getting a dollar from me ever, like, anymore. It's over. The gravy train's over. All my spending, everything will happen outside of the United States now. I might not even keep my money in U.S. banks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
just out. I'm just out, man.
So this is good. Because we're touching on a lot of different things. So like
Not to make it, I'm not trying to be like doomsday, like, hey, this is the dark cloud that's hanging over all these career decisions. But it's relevant
no,
though.
yeah, no, it is, it
You
is, it
know,
is because like yeah, I agree. I mean, I'll be the first to admit when we started working from home, I didn't think it was gonna be really permanent. Like I just couldn't see such a shift in like work culture and like the grind 9 to 5 culture we have in America. Like I couldn't see us, but I guess I underestimated the spirit of the employees though. Like the amount of people that'd be like, I'm not going back. You know what I mean?
yep,
Or I would just quit this job. So you end up in this position where of course you have people that are companies that want you to come in hybrid or they want you to be in the office. Like you're still gonna have people to make that push, but your days are numbered, yo. Like
yep,
because you won't have the talent, you won't be able to. I mean, you know what I mean? You're gonna be behind.
yep.
Um,
And that's kind of like the boomer thing too. You got a generation of people. Well, this again just opinion, but you got a generation of people that didn't really have, not that they didn't have any adversity, but they had a lot of things going for them, and then never really had to develop grind, the level of grind that everybody behind them has had to do, or develop. And
mm,
worse than that, like once they got theirs, they like pulled the ladder up behind them, so to speak. And
mm,
like, no, like not like these are the people that are looking around now, like, what do you mean? I just raised minimum wage to $15 an hour. Why wouldn't you come back? I like, back in my day, it was only 4.25 or whatever,
right,
and it's
right,
just like $15 an hour doesn't even meet my bottom line, dude. I don't know what you want. Like, why would I even, like, my credit's already getting blasted, my student loans are already defaulting, and you want me to come in and work at this
yeah,
McDonald's or wherever
yeah,
to what? For what? I might as well just, you know,
mm-hmm.
Twitch stream me playing video games or something. Yeah, I don't, like, there's people are looking for alternatives, and
right,
the businesses, like, there's just no incentive. Like, all the
right,
incentive is going to, banks and financial analysts, and honestly tech
yeah,
companies into the tech space, and everything else. We've just said, you know what, like,
mm-hmm.
stock market's more important. Like, fuck
Mm-hmm.
schools, fuck,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
No,
Um, and
no,
it's sad, but I just don't want to stick around to see how this plays out.
no,
I'm just kind of
absolutely.
done.
And it's like one of the things that I realized too. So I'm thinking about this for next year. The cost of living in America is so expensive. Like I'm talking about as compared to anywhere. So basically, if you're anywhere else in the world, I mean, it's almost like getting paid more or getting a raise in the sense of just lower cost of
Just
living, and
moving.
you're seeing more of your own money, and you have more buying power. You have more
Yep.
ability to do more things. You know what I mean?
Yep. Offensively so, like
Yeah, yeah,
in
exactly.
in ways that you wouldn't even so the latest two, so I mean, I've had different destinations that I've really wanted to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like rotate a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
my two main targets now, like once I get settled in Ohio or everything, one is Montreal because it's in Canada, French. That's like my heritage kind of roots go back that way, so I've always just had an interest um, staying up there, so I could drive back and forth between Ohio. And then on the Atlantic side, northern Portugal, and like that's where it all kind of started. Where I had this like, I always knew, just having been in Spain, I knew it was like kind of like that. But once I started seriously looking into Portugal, like the numbers are just they speak for themselves. They're undeniable. Like, and then I got onto some people's YouTube channels, that have done it and that are over there now, and they're
Yeah, yeah,
here's
yeah,
how we did it, here's how I started looking into that, and like
yeah.
it's dude, family of four, private health insurance, $1,500 for the whole year.
Mm.
Um, and you don't like a job isn't a requirement. If you have $1,500, you get private health insurance for that whole year, right? Like it's just
Mm.
their whole system is totally different to where it's like everything's not coupled to your job.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was targeting the Iberian Peninsula for sure, like first and foremost because the northern countries are a bit more expensive, and I
Mm.
wanted to take advantage of stretching the salary as
Of
far as I
course, of
could.
course, of course.
And I started looking at Porto, and I know
Mm-hmm.
you've been there as well. I was asking you about
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
and like I found it's called idealista.pt, and it's like a Zillow kind of website,
Mm-hmm.
is and in for the whole country of Portugal, and I zoom in on Porto, and it's like 2 bedroom, 1.5 baths, old historical districts,
Mm.
$500 a month.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
just laughable, like laughable when you compare it to $1,800 in rural Ohio.
Of course.
That's offensive. I mean, it's just
Of
offensive.
course. And I think the situation here, man, is getting like untenable. It's like if you don't work in, and I mean, I hate to be shallow, but it's really a small handful of industries that are going to be able to keep up with inflation. You know what I mean? Obviously, you might have like your doctors, you might have like your people who work in the sciences and then like your tech like fields. But there's only going to be a handful of careers, man, that really allow, I feel, someone to really keep up with the cost of living, the cost of inflation in America. It's too. I mean, even I read an article about this. Thanksgiving was the most expensive Thanksgiving at the store for the average person in years. And I just feel like that trajectory is just continually going and going and going. If anything, it's been sped up. Like things are already getting more expensive. That was already happening. That was already a trend. People are used to their rent going up every year. That's already a thing in America. Like nothing ever stops increasing. But now we're talking about the rate of inflation, though. You know what I mean? During this last year has just been crazy. And then just going forward another 10 years or something like that, I can't even imagine. Um, and man, and so
Yep.
to your point about like the whole like living remotely, working remotely thing, there are so many. And again, I don't know 100% right. I got to find a tax person and figure out like how do you continue to make your money in American dollars, but circumvent or minimize the amount of taxes that you necessarily have to pay.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
again, it's about the options that are provided by your tech career. Like for me, it's about the fact that I don't have to worry about coming into the office. Actually, in fact, I'm not allowed to go. We have a retreat coming up on the 7th of December. The entire product team is going to California to meet up in person. I can't go due to being unvaccinated. Like, so I have to attend virtually. Like I didn't mind going there at all. You know what I mean? Um, but it's like, but that's what I mean. Now, luckily, I have that option to still attend virtually. You know what I mean? Like because that's just the nature of the work. But
Right.
I think these are the things that it's like it's not so much about just learning code. I understand not everybody's passionate about learning code, and I can even admit that like I wasn't the most passionate about coding. It's just understanding that as a means to an end. It got me into a career. It got me
Yep.
into tech. It changed my earning ceiling just insanely. And then quality of life, right? Like just the my day to day looks different. The type of work that I do looks different. The things I'm able to do look different. Like I'm not necessarily doing like what your boy's doing, where I'm having two salaries or two salary jobs on this computer and on that computer doing two different things. But being at home, it allows you to do stuff like have a business on the side, you know what I mean? Or do other things and make money on the side. So it's like
Yeah,
it
I mean,
opens up so many opportunities. Yeah,
even just my like I've got like the exercise bike and the kettlebells, and that's like my lunch break every day,
exactly,
hitting it. Like it's just
exactly.
everything is completely
Instinct.
customizable, and it's just I'm not giving
Hmm.
that shit back. I'm not.
No, of course not. And then for people who have kids, I mean, you've got that to think about. If you got kids, if you got a family, you got that to think about. Spending more time with them. Um, and not even just to mention just the comfort, right? All those pointless meetings that you got to walk down this hallway, go here, go there, go this meeting room.
Yeah,
None of those things were really ever relevant. We could just be in our beds or at our desks or at our kitchen. I mean, whatever. I could
yep.
be eating my breakfast on you know what I mean? Like just hey man, it
It's the
so
future. It's
yeah,
it was before the pandemic. It just accelerated. Like everybody knows it now. You know what I mean? Which is great. But we'll see how it plays out because there's been varying approaches to say the least.
yeah, we got some comment. Leo, we got some you want me to join in?
Oh, Leo,
I think
Leo,
let me see. What's what's up,
what's up?
fellas? You want me to join in?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
get him
mean,
in
I mean, what's up, man? I don't. Let me see.
if we
Justin,
can.
you have his contact info. If you can send him the link, I mean, he's more
Yeah,
than Leo.
yeah. What's up?
We'd love to have you join in. I'll have Justin send you the link, man, and come and give some additional insight, perspective. That'd
We're
be dope.
getting the whole gang back together, man.
Yeah,
This is great.
it'd be dope, man. Um, but yeah, I second everything you just said, man. Because it's a lifestyle change. It's more like when people work at like I remember back in the day, uh, like interviewing for a flight attendant job, and they were saying like send just got a new send me a link. I'd love to send to Slack DM. So Justin, I don't know if you have a Slack.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got
yeah.
you.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. All right, Leo, we're gonna get you in here, man. So be on the lookout in just a sec on the Slack. Justin's gonna hit you with it. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I interviewed for a flight attendant job, and obviously like it comes with like flight benefits and everything like that. And they were basically just saying that it becomes a lifestyle thing. It's not about working for the airport or being a flight attendant. It's like all the flight benefits, the travel benefits. It becomes a part of your lifestyle. Why people stay
Yeah.
10 or 15 years. And I can say the same thing with tech. I mean, for me, it's been like there's always something to learn. I don't care how much time you spend in one domain, how much time you work on something, how much time you work on a skill. There's always going to be new things to learn. The more people you work with who have different experience in things that you don't, like you're going to learn new stuff just from exposure, talking to these people, being around these people. So I love that piece of it. And then working from home as well is just like another lifestyle thing that I just don't want to give up. So like the constant learning, and then like you said, the working from home and just the freedom, or just the not even working from home, working from anywhere, being remote is something I'm not willing to kind of go back on at this point. Um, so yeah, I second everything you said right there.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't make like all this is just the backdrop against like all the decisions that actually have to be made. There we go. Sorry,
Yep.
getting back set up. Basically, like, all right, all this is going on, and inside of that, you're staring down the barrel of like, it's like freaking out on me.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Leo, what's happening, man?
What's up? Hello.
Yeah,
Good to see you, brother.
Fellas.
Yeah, man. Can you hear us?
What's going on?
Can you hear us?
What's going on, man?
yeah, I got you. One second.
I'm glad if I could join in. I mean, I think I have some pretty good insight on the topic. Oh shit! Sorry,
sure.
my webcam just fell. Give me a moment.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Can you hear us, Leo?
I can hear you. Can you
Oh,
hear
okay.
me?
All right. Yep. I just wanted to
I
make
gotta
sure.
know where my audio is coming through.
Oh, you're good. You don't sound bad at all. You're
It
good.
probably
It is.
sounds like absolute crap right now. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good, man. Yo, super appreciate you joining, man. This is good. This whole stream is pretty much just talking IT.
I hear like feedback loop right now through one
Do
of you
you?
guys.
Okay. Let me see. I'll mute Justin until he comes back on. Yeah, how's that sound? Is that a little bit better?
Okay, that's a little better.
All right, sweet. Yeah, man. Appreciate you hopping on, man. This is basically just us, super casual, but we just want to go over like talk about IT.
Can you cut it for a second? I can hear like echo in my voice.
Oh,
really.
for sure. Yep. Justin, you still with us, man?
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting sad. I had to. My phone battery was dying.
No, you're
Was
good. I just want to make sure.
taking advantage while we were doing our little like this is classic IT right here. This is like, all right, hold on. Let's just move everything. Let's just move everything to the cloud real quick. Hold on.
It's all good. Just want to make sure the audio is straight. Do you hear echo or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Leo, how's that sound?
Hold on. Is it my mic?
I mean, you're good.
Let me see what I'm using for this.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah, I
sound fine on
believe
our
I got
end.
open mic. I've been open mic, right? That's good. Does it sound good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Solid.
Okay, I just got a new. Do I got good cam too? Am I good to start?
You're good. If you want to, if you can slide over a little to your left. I like your face is a little bit out of the camera, but if you can slide to your left, you'd be good. But other than that, yeah, audio is good.
Okay. Okay, I'm good now.
Boom. There we go.
We good here?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Got it.
All right.
What's up, fellas?
What's happening?
Yo.
What's happening? Good
Just
to see you,
living.
man.
I'm out here.
I dig it. No. So this
Got
whole
a new
stream
house. Check it.
looks good. Is that? I see a drum kit in the back too.
Yeah, I just bought that.
That's dope.
Yeah.
The real deal drum kit. Nice, man. No, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Let the people know kind of how you got into
Sure.
tech, where you work, what you do, and then we'll kind of just go from there.
Sure. So you got me in the title?
Not the title. I have to edit it after the stream now.
Okay.
Wasn't
Cool.
expecting you to come in.
Sorry, man. I didn't want to intrude or anything, but like I've
You're
been
good.
friends with Justin for a good long while now, and I'd like to put in my perspective on IT careers because I think I got some experience under my belt at this point. It's been like 5 years for me being in the IT
I love
field
it,
at this
man.
point.
Let's do it. Let's do
And I
it.
think Justin would like to catch up, a little bit.
Yeah.
See what's
Yeah.
been going on.
It's like we all three of us had the luxury of working at a place that gives you actual PTSD. So
I wouldn't say
nice.
that, but like
No,
it's something. It was something. So
Yeah, go ahead, go.
So I just like to talk about that. My name is Leo Fernari. I am a software developer. I'm working currently at a manufacturing operations plant called Tweddle Group. I do a lot of their ERP coding. I make sure that all the data flows in well, goes from application to application, etc. I was working with Justin before at a place that I won't disclose just because we don't want to expose where we were at for everybody. But
Yeah.
we did have some trials and tribulations there at the time, and it was fun in any sense of the word. But we had good time bonding together, learning all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And how'd you get into coding, Leo? Did you come through like via coding bootcamp, self-taught? Like,
No.
How'd you get into it?
I was enrolled in Central Michigan University for a bachelor's degree, and I ended up taking the IT computer science path.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I was originally going for broadcasting, and I did get a minor in geographic information systems. Hasn't done me really any good, but it was a minor, so I got it.
Mhm.
It did involve some coding and whatnot, but
Okay.
I ended up building like a statistical program that like mapped, what was it, R code to Python code so it could be compiled by the ArcGIS runtime. That was something I did have to do.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That's insane.
I have a very vague memory of that. I could share the GitHub repo with you if you wanted.
That's wild, man.
I can get that for you. I'll get that passively while you continue to talk.
Yeah, for sure. So let's so Justin and I kind of been pinging around a little bit with our stuff, so we'll kind of just get you looped in here.
How long have you been going for?
You said you're 45 minutes now, 44.
Yeah.
So we got it scheduled for like an hour and a half, but it's just casual. We'll see how it goes. But all right, so you've been in, you said about 5 years.
Yep.
So you're kind of at that probably like mid-level considered like point in your developer career. So
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk us through a little bit some of the things you've I guess learned on your path in the IT career going from junior to that mid-level?
Well, it wasn't easy. I mean, I went through a lot of, like I said, trials and tribulations with Justin, and he can attest to that.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, in that process, I did learn like the severity of errors when you're in a place that is running a lot of volume. Like when the volume comes in and there's a little bug and it trickles out of a faucet and the faucet gets turned up, it doesn't look too pretty. Do you know what I mean? Like when stuff happens downstream, things do not get pretty because there's a lot of data handling that is not there. And when that occurs, people go a little crazy, you know, like they get a little scared of where their money is going, you know?
Exactly.
So that became a point of contention for us.
Yeah, honestly, dude, like every single job now, like I could confirm that is like a thing. And it's usually because someone didn't listen to the developer like up front where it was like, hey, we should probably write some tests. And they're like, whatever, nerd, get it done. You know, and then it's like it blows up, and you're like, to me, that's what I found like. I honestly think
as much
get some millennials into leadership positions, man. Like, just let's get some people that are a little bit like software updated, because they're making just like it's the same mistakes over and over again. Like, there's just a lack of leadership.
That's the sort of thing that you would have to create like a feedback loop for within your own leadership. You'd have to create, you know, leadership meeting chats, and you'd want to be like conversing with folks that are in your same level of bureaucracy. And you just assuredly move down information and create the feedback loop so there's no one missing that piece of information that's vital for the business to continue.
Yo, that's a key point right there, Leo, because that's something I had on here for us to talk about. So that's a perfect segue. It's basically like lessons learned throughout our IT careers, and specifically touching on things like politics, right? Because I think what you just touched on is key. What I've noticed is there almost seems to always be some level of politics, right? Like, I don't know if that's just a part of working at a corporate company or just a certain type of company in general. But so like my first job, obviously
it's the day after Thanksgiving, man.
Yeah, it's like
I'm stuffed up to here. Tell you what,
for real. but literally, like we were all at the same spot. So like we saw at a big company, like there's a certain type of bureaucracy, red tape, like things you got to go through to get anything done. But then after that,
give me one moment, please. Actually, let me see something
for sure.
I'm gonna try something. I got some lighting, and I want to try it out.
All right, for sure. Yeah, do your thing. But then right after that job, I went to a UK-based company where, I mean, we're like an auxiliary branch, so I still worked in the US, but we're headquartered in the UK. Nice.
Hold on, give me a sec. Keep going.
Yep. And but there was still politics. Like there's like really no escape in politics, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now I'm at a startup, and it's almost like I'm still adjusting to the lack of politics, like the lack of red tape, because everybody has direct line to everybody, you know what I mean? Yeah. So legitimate is like people are spearheading new initiatives. Like I have a developer on one of my teams who's literally spearheading an entire initiative to standardize all of our repos across the company. So like he's talking to the CTO and like our head of like engineering to pretty much say, hey, we got 5 different servers that we're using, 5 different server frameworks. We should pick one, or we should have one for certain situations. We have all these different DevOps tools. We should consolidate that into one thing. There's no like central like folder structure. So if I'm working in this project versus that project, I don't know. I'm looking all over for like these.
Where do I go?
These secrets or these other things, like where things at. We should have a naming convention. So I have a developer who's literally like leading that push across the company right now. Whereas at a bigger company or like a more corporate company, I feel like you would never really have not never, but it'd be much more challenging to have to implement something like that. You know what I mean?
So it's two different sets of problems, right? Like the big company, you get the guardrails, but you get the politics with it. Small company, no guardrails, but no politics. And I've actually found another version, or like a flavor of that, where it's the same kind of. I think we're a little bit smaller than where you were at, Darian, but the same dynamics at work, but it's only across like eight people or whatever. And that works if you have proactive eight people that view what they do as a craft and not just a paycheck. Right. And that's kind of what I'm running into a little bit. We've got some sounds that they're not motivated. They're good workers and all that kind of stuff, but they're not like ultra proactive in things. So they just kind of accept the shitty reality that we've created for ourselves. A lot of it's like inherited code. Like it all happened for a reason, and it's all like it's nobody's fault or whatever. But they don't look at it and see like, hey, I want to make this better or less painful or whatever. They just kind of deal with it. And
A
that's the
lot
part
of things.
that's what gets me going. I get fired up about that because it's like,
A lot
dude,
of
oh, we
things.
gotta like you kidding me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say my take is that a lot of things get done and are continued to like run because they work. That's it. That is literally the bare minimum. When they say minimum viable product, they mean it.
Yep.
Like
Yeah,
I mean that with the most severity in my voice. That when they say when it can write to a database, that might be the final version.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
just had
fear sending something into a GitHub release because it's like V1.0.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
one
And
day
then where's
later,
like,
like it's not a good look. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and then like wears you down over time. Like when everything that you're trying to do is the first time anyone has ever done it at the company, and like you got to trailblaze everything that wears you down. Like I had a this week or last, I can't remember. I had like a this is fine GIF moment where it's just like I could feel the inferno around me where like we were trying to like we're building out like view applications for it's a bunch of internal applications. It's like it's like a suite of applications or whatever, and we're trying to standardize them all as view apps. And like what I noticed, we're working with contractors too. There's all kinds of shit going on, but like I noticed there were no standards or rules like for code reviews. Like how can we even agree on a bare minimum 5 things that we're all looking for in the code review?
yeah.
And we started that meeting, right? So it was me and a couple of developers, and we're working through that meeting, and like I'm sitting there and I say something about JavaScript and Vue or whatever, and then one of the other developers comes back with, well, I mean, as far as object oriented is concerned, and then he had this big whole paragraph that followed it, but like JavaScript isn't object oriented. So like the whole time he was talking, I was just trying to like keep it together and just like, yeah, you're right for object oriented. Yeah, oh you read clean code too. Oh, awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. We're talking about JavaScript though, and like that doesn't have anything to do with any of the shit. It was just one of those like I could just see like my life ending in my mind's eye. Like just like just end it now, man. Oh. So yeah, I don't know.
What was that, Leo?
What else we got going on here on the podcast?
So another thing is like career development, or just like staying relevant in this industry, right? Because once you get in the field, you're not guaranteed a spot forever. You know what I mean? Things are changing really fast. Yeah.
If you want my career notion right now, I wanted to do something where I could remain back end, front end, really anywhere pretty flexibly by just getting into cloud. Like I'm gonna be real with y'all. I've had a tough 2020. It's been a long ass year for me. Like a lot of stuff's happened. I'm not gonna get into it, but like I was not doing much in terms of tech in the year 2020. It was a lot of sitting down. Tell you what, I was sat up on my ass in 2020. It kind of sucked.
Leo, it's also 2021.
Yeah. I know
time's a flat circle.
Time is in fact a flat circle. However, we must not let that distract us from the fact that you can get astray at some points in your career.
Oh yeah,
thusly,
for sure.
Thusly leading me to my next point. I was in the recruiting process for a company that was going to shell me 6 figures for a cloud developer role that didn't really require that much Azure. It just really required me to be like a mid-level developer doing that sort of thing. So I wrote them a code snippet. I sent it to them, and that was like 2019 about. And 2021 rolls around, and I receive a rejection letter, and they say, we have decided not to move forward with your candidacy with no reason attached to it. And that sussed me out, definitely, because you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to give me a reason for, we were on hold for 2 years while the world was burning. Like, what was happening in the background if I'm not certain,
Yo, that's crazy. They responded like a year and a half later or 2 years later. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I really have had the carrot in front of my face of a 6-figure role since then. And it's kind of been crappy. So you know what I've done with it with the rejection, to be honest? I have started studying for an Azure certificate. So
Nice, man.
I'm trying to get into like cloud development, which is like
Mhm.
you know a very generic programming role. Like
Mhm.
you
Yep.
develop cloud platforms anywhere. Like you have like
Yeah.
C#, .NET Core experience, server maintenance experience, networking
Yep.
experience, firewall
Mhm.
experience, literally
Docker,
any of that
Linux.
stuff. Got
Yeah.
Docker, containers, Linux,
Absolutely.
anything you fucking want. Sorry.
No,
Don't
you're good.
get
You're
cussed
good.
on it.
You're good. You're good,
Doesn't
bro. You're
matter.
good.
Okay, cool. We're good to cuss though. Like I've been
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Sweet,
Yeah. You're
sweet.
good. You're good.
I got you. So we all that fucking stuff,
Yep.
all the containers and all that, microservices and whatnot, all really great services to manage that kind of stuff in the cloud. API management, Azure like Kubernetes clusters, all that sort of stuff that like leads to having robust server support and whatnot. Like
Yo,
like
I'm gonna
that.
second everything. Yeah, I'm gonna second everything you're saying because when I left my first dev job where I was doing no cloud engineering stuff like that, went to my second job which was all serverless programming, all Azure. So learning all that stuff and working with that for the last like year and a half or whatever, coming into my job now. So now I'm not dev anymore. I work in product now, but
Yeah,
literally,
I heard
yeah.
about that.
So from Azure now we're in I'm in AWS world most of the time. We also use Google Cloud Platform for like some legacy stuff, but it's mainly
Yeah.
AWS. But the beautiful part about learning cloud, like to your point, Leo, is that once you learn all that stuff in Azure, you basically know GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and AWS. They have different names, but the
Compute
services do the
resources,
same
storage
exact thing.
resources. That's
Exactly.
it. It's
They
like,
all do the
oh,
same exact thing.
S3. Oh yeah, Azure Cloud Storage,
Yep.
Azure Blob Storage. It's
Microsoft
literally the
service,
same thing.
yeah, Azure
Like
Service Bus. You got like simple notification service in AWS. It's like one for one,
SNS event
the same
bus.
thing. Yep.
One thing that I did build in my spare time with Justin, may I add, was a thing that used a Raspberry Pi, which had Linux built in on it.
Nice.
We made it have a sensor, a test sensor, emit data from it as a temperature sensor.
Oh, nice.
And what we did with that data is we installed a framework on the board that allowed the data to be moved from the test sensor with like I don't know if it was like a Python script or something, activated it, something like that. It activated a Python script that went out to like IoT Hub on Azure.
Oh, nice.
And,
okay.
And it fed data to there, went through Stream Analytics. We had it like locked down securely to that thread sort of thing.
Nice.
And so like we were just trying to build out the whole process to make it like be like this secure cloud thing. We had a name for it and everything. Don't worry about it. Project Dank Tech will never die. I'll tell you what.
It's still alive, dude. It's still alive. We're trying to get you've actually come up in a couple conversations with Fessel and Chelsea because like we kind of got like a takeover going on, like we're winning the culture war kind of deal at our current role. So like as soon as role opens up, I'm gonna like you're call number one. So like because dude, we're literally building, like we're moving. We've got like a web form and some MVC, just some legacy.
It's literally all I do.
Code, and we're moving it. We're
literally
moving it to Azure, and we're converting it all to like Vue applications and Azure.
What are you doing first? Are you migrating it to the cloud or like web packing it up into like Vue?
Like, Vue's first. Yeah. So like we're more in like build out the new applications, create like a mapping mechanism in between our new data model and the old shitty one, and then just making that work so that we can eventually, it's the Dell from our old job. Where we basically had to write that, but like it's with all
the Dell. I remember the Dell.
Yeah, and nobody like, and unfortunately, like we're working with some contractors, and like there's not a ton of like hardcore. We don't have a lot of depth of knowledge in a lot of things.
Yeah. Honestly, I could be like in that situation. We're just totally gonna network right here on the show if that's
No, this is perfect. I mean, this is literally showing the view. Like this is literally networking happening right now. Like, I mean,
like I'm saying though, that's literally all I've done. Like for Tweddle, that's MVC project or like web forms project. Move it up into a new version. Move it up to Vue. Move it up to React. Whatever was supported at the time. I've done that a couple times. I've moved old projects that are just, a bunch of text boxes and like labels into reports. Like I've simplified so much stuff that it's like I need to move on to something else, like in the cloud or something. Like do it there too, and then get how that works, because that's like vital information. Maintenance is like key all the time. Maintenance is literally always key. It never goes away.
What are you using any like resources for training, like a Cloud Guru or something like that?
I did find Microsoft Learn is helping a lot. If I could look right over here to my other screen, I see private certificate requirements. So like it's telling me like, oh, for this app service, you need to install these cryptographic keys to get this to work. You know, that sort of thing. Like, it goes over all of it. And I got like a oh, by the way, I need to send you this Git repo of this translation thing that I was doing in
that'd be sweet.
college. I could if we looked at that, it'd be gibberish to me, but I bet I could make something out of it. Anyways, what were we talking about?
No worries. It's actually this whole thing right here is actually a good segue into kind of the job market. So like what trends have you guys noticed, or if anything, like what are y'all seeing? Because right now we're in the middle of this, like coming off the pandemic, we're in the middle of this like great resignation where everybody's quitting their jobs. There's these labor shortages in certain industries, and then obviously skilled labor is also like there's a lot of shortages. But
I've thought a lot about this one, man.
So there's like these. All right, so
my man right here.
All right, bet. So all right, so we'll set the scene, and then y'all can just take it however you want. So like there's like all these labor shortages, including in skilled labor, but now you got the world open to remote work, where it kind of opens up like where you can apply, where you can work, things you can do. Like, so what changes have y'all seen in the job market or whatever since being in tech, and just like for you, Leo, 5 years, Justin, you're right around 4 or 5 years. I'm at 4 years, 3-4 years. So like, what have y'all seen over this time changing?
Well, just for place and time, I mean, in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, the judge literally took a moment to explain how he saves text messages by screenshotting them and saving them to his files in a mansplaining boomer sort of moment that was in the middle of a murder trial, and perfectly explains exactly where we're at as a society. So like in terms of we're still in the Wild West. Like the Pinkertons aren't showing up for a while because nobody even understands what the fuck we're talking about. Right. First and foremost, and then I think with the Great Resignation, I think there's a lot going on. I think people like in general are just saying like, fuck it, I'm not even meeting my bottom line like we were talking about before. But I think in tech, you're seeing like some of the old guard is retiring, which is sort of leaving like a leadership vacuum, which is why the PMP that you were talking about, Darian, was so like attractive to me, because the theme that I've noticed over the 5 years or whatever is like, one, there's rarely a voice advocating for IT's perspective. Like, what do we even want, guys? Where are like our lines that the business can't cross, and who's going to fight for them? We don't have a lot of that going on, if we even know that to begin with, right? But then when it comes down to the bottom line decision making, it's basically being done by, boomers, and like. We're in like there's the exponential change like curve that we're in right now. Like we're in the exponential part of the progress thing, right? And like that means change is going to keep happening faster than ever. And you're 40 years, Mr. Manager, in the industry. Like I've been met with a lot of like, oh, that's a fad, that's a fad, that's a fad, that's a fad. Instead of like, oh, they solved a problem that we're also trying to solve. Or meanwhile, while they are solving the cool problems, we're still battling the problems that got solved in 1980. And you don't understand why we need to update that, because nobody wants to fucking work here because we're dealing with this stupid shit that got solved 20 years ago. And that's sort of been my growing frustration and sort of my reasoning for wanting to move more into management myself, to sort of advocate for those things, protect the developers, but then also like modernize, make everything more efficient, get the DevOps pipelines, like the whole 9 yards, that people just don't either understand or
a lot of people don't want to do it.
Yeah, they just don't want to pay the initial pain and the work up front. They won't pay it. And then they get mad when the bug makes it down the faucet and everything blows up. Why didn't you? Why are we even here? It's like, well,
you want the secret, Dustin?
You made me give the spaghetti
it's
monster
labor.
steroids.
it's time. It literally is more important than money. Like that's all I gotta say. Like time is literally more important than money. Do you know what you buy with money? You buy time.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah, I agree.
And,
But,
and time costs money. That's for sure.
Well,
Tell
the
you what.
importance the importance of training. So like I find myself in a position where like not only do myself and the people that I work with need more training, but we're also put in positions where we're making decisions that are way above where our skill levels are. So like there's times where I've been in an argument where like one of the guys, the guy that I'm hoping you replace, Leo. It's a different that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But we're in a conversation where there's like we've got a bunch of different applications and they're all third party resources and how we're taking these responses and all that shit, right? And
Do you have
basically
API management going on?
no, I don't think so.
That'd be something cool to consolidate in the cloud, I think.
It's if it makes sense, we probably aren't doing it. That's like,
Do you know what? Do you know what's been a cool concept to me lately? A GraphQL database in API management. That has been a very attractive idea to me recently. I just did a proof of concept of that, and it's like you just create this, these threads in a graph database, and you like query through them essentially with the criteria that you're providing it.
Dude, even that, like, dude, that is a perfect example of you being just light years ahead of the average developer. The argument that I got in with this kid, like, I was basically like, hey, have we considered a message queue architecture, right? And I was like, yeah, we can have, and one endpoint exposed externally, but then inside of that, everything can just run through a message queue because we have a lot of different things moving out or whatever. And he's like, what do you mean not use REST? What do you want to use, SOAP? And I'm like,
no, he literally misunderstood what you're saying.
He misunderstood the whole thing.
Yeah, he just misunderstood
SOAP is literally the opposite of what I'm talking about.
Nobody even said that, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. And then like, because I said I didn't like, what are you even talking about? Like he took it as like an affront to his ego because he's just one of those developers. And like he actually said to me like, do you think I can't code up an abstract class that could handle this? And like I didn't even know what to say. I was utterly like
I don't like that kind of like elitism, to be honest with you. I mean, like the willingness to try new things, honestly, if you want my take, is the ability that it's had in the past to accomplish the task that you're trying to complete.
Yep.
That is the only thing that matters. If you can think of an idea and it can be executed in a framework easily, that is the way you go for it.
Yep.
You do not think why should I do this? Should I start state managing? No, you think of the solution and the fastest way to get to it. That's all it is.
And then really like I picked up a book about microservices and I was reading it and like it was like, yeah, hey, one of the primary benefits of microservices is that it allows us to respond more flexibly and faster to changing business requirements. And like that was like one of our really big problems is that they kept flip-flopping and like hey, this actually kind of solves that. Like should we take a look at this or whatever? And it was just taken in
But here we go. Hold on. This is a perfect time to play devil's advocate because I'm going through that right now where we've got too many damn microservices where it's like which microservice should this change even live in, or should we just make a new microservice which just adds another thing? You know what I'm saying? So like I'm seeing
consolidation is key.
Exactly.
For that sign.
What does your automation look like with the microservices? Because the same book was basically like if you're going to adopt microservices, you have to pair it with at least like deployment automation in order for it to be psychologically scalable.
So the deployment stuff is not so much the issue. That most of that is like automated in the sense of like you push the master and it does its own thing, runs the test, deploys
Jenkins or something.
But the issue is just like when you're like implementing changes. So like without getting into too much detail, there's things that need to happen, right? And like they're very like business critical things need to happen, but we're having more or less arguments about like, well, where should we do this? Like all our microservices, like to your guys' point, do pretty much one thing. But like anything that doesn't fit the context of that one thing, it makes it hard to definitively say like who owns this work or like where does this thing need to go? You know what I mean?
True.
And so you could spend a lot of time just having that conversation, which ends up being let's just make a new microservice.
Just make a new one.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time.
Where it's not completely cyclical. Like you gotta consider what you're doing. And if it creates a new problem, it's a null point. Like if you don't solve every problem related to a solution while you're doing it, people will just be like, well, why doesn't it do this? And when all of those features don't come on, v.01, it's kind of like, wait, didn't we say something about this? Like,
Yeah,
and then that sort of thing, it gets into scope creep and all that. And I know that's not the topic that we're getting into.
No, you're good. And what I've learned though is that like for every tool at your disposal in tech, right? Like everything has its weaknesses. You know what I mean? Like as beautiful as the thing might look or like seem, like serverless or like serverless functions seem like this amazing thing.
It's cool stuff though.
It's very cool depending on the context or depending on the project, right? Because again, we're in a situation where that shit's crippling us in a way. Because like you're stuffing too much of basically almost an application into serverless functions, right?
That's kind of scary. Honestly, serverless functions to me are scripts. Nothing more. Like if you're launching an entire website off of a serverless application, it's kind of like, I feel like serverless is headless, you know? Like,
so here's what I'm saying.
Box is just like get, post, get.
The one thing that I like about serverless though, and I haven't done this yet, but like to me, it's a natural pair with single page applications in that you just send a request, it shoots back the whole thing for you. And then like, especially if it's like your application is just, a React application that's just reaching out to APIs or whatever. Like to me, that's like, ooh, that actually might be a cost effective, like, it's just me thinking out loud, to be honest. But
no, of course, it's like things.
I'm gonna get some water.
Go ahead. But I think that's the thing I've learned is like, just because something is new or something is whatever hot right now doesn't always necessarily make it the best case for everything. A lot of this stuff and being good at this stuff really is understanding like what's out there, one, what it does, two, the benefits of it, three, but then use cases like number 4, like knowing when to use certain things, because sometimes it does make sense to use some old school whatever traditional
or just simple stuff. I run into this a lot where like I get into like I'm writing like a view component or something like that, and I'm dealing with like a webpack issue in view application or Babel or some or whatever, and it's some configuration thing that I'm trying to figure out. And I've had it happen to me where at times where I'm just looking at the code, like I know we're already going down this road and this should be a view application, but like I could write this entire application in a single HTML page with just vanilla JavaScript, and like all we're doing is showing a fucking list of results. It's one promise, and then some DOM manipulation, and that's it. Like, why do we need this whole thing? But we get caught into like, but view,
exactly. Then you're bringing all these other dependencies into your project that have to be managed and just everything, right? But this is what I'm saying. I think this is a part of it though. Having this conversation right here and being able to talk about these trade-offs, right, and how we're moving forward. We should be able to kind of argue each side and come to the best consensus, right? But that is part of like the skill development, the career development, the career progression, like being able to get to this point where all three of us can have this conversation and come out with because there's not always a you're right, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm wrong. Like it's not always that black and white. I mean, it
rarely is. Like, dude, when we chose Vue, so like I got brought into my job and it was like, yeah, you can do, you're a React developer. We got a lot of C# and some MVC shit. Like, okay, no problem. A lot of jQuery still. Like, all right, cool. Like, all right, hey, we're going to re-platform this application. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, React or Vue, and now we have the Civil War can begin, right? Because we got a Vue/Angular guy that's like, before we even started talking about the conversation, he started making jokes about React bros and shit like that, and like, and I was like, okay, whatever. So like, I just could tune that out and then just look at it. What does each do well? Look at the framework themselves, but then also compare that to, okay, on the team, I know React's Vue's you can get up to speed pretty quick. Okay, versus me trying to impose React on everybody else. Vue was a better choice because the other people on the team had at least a little bit of Vue experience. So we ended up going with Vue just because everybody was more familiar with it. And honestly, I think it's probably a bit easier and friendlier, especially for beginners. But I do kind of like it. I kind of prefer it now myself. But like, you have to consider all of those things, or at least you should be considering all of those things if you want to call yourself an effective manager of a technical team. Because if you're just picking GraphQL because Mark Zuckerberg released a whatever video and
Exactly.
we should use GraphQL because it's the new thing. It's like,
Mhm.
well, does anybody in your team know how to fucking use GraphQL? Like,
Yeah.
is it like bringing napalm to
Yeah.
a fist fight? Like,
So look, I'll piggyback off this because basically you're speaking to like what you just said, like skills that help make a good technical manager or whatever in that sense, right? So here's the situation that I'm in this that I'm finding interesting. I work with so I have two teams that I don't want to say I manage, but I'm involved with two teams, right? Each team, every developer is a senior. So there is no like team lead or this person's a senior and everyone goes to this person. No, every individual on the team is senior level, right? So we're talking about like people, ex Microsoft employees, ex
talent. Yeah,
GoDaddy
yeah, yeah,
employees. I mean, we're
yeah.
talking just insane talent. So like
People that have Bitcoin rigs in their basement and shit.
exactly. So I mean, but you're talking like so one navigating communication, right? Because when everyone has good ideas and that are based on logic, based on rationale, based on their experience, whether it's at other jobs, side projects, what they know about, low level coding stuff, it's like again, facilitating those conversations, being able to kind of gauge the best way forward. Like in your case, sometimes you might have to like, I want to say squash something, but I mean, at some point, executive decisions have to get made, things have to get done, right? So you can't just stay in philosophical debate world all the time. Like
Yep.
things have to move forward, things have to get prioritized, right? So it's so funny. This is all going back to just the vastness of IT and tech, right? Like the different. So I don't have to be necessarily like technically where my ex Microsoft engineer is at because I can't be. You know what I mean? But it's being able to have these conversations and understand the nuances between the things we're talking about, the trade-offs, right? To be able to make effective decisions. And I think that's like all rooted in software engineering foundations, coding principles. Like so to your point about being an effective manager, like if you're gonna work in IT or you're gonna be like, yes, there are non-technical managers. It's not a requirement that you code to be a manager in IT or technical or anything like that. But we're talking about your quality of life as a manager dealing with people who are senior level engineers. If you're not able to communicate with them or understand, right, there's just a slew of problems that come with that.
Yep.
From expectation setting, missed deadlines, right? Things just getting lost in translation in general.
Yep.
There's
But
a million things.
you actually have a team of Navy SEALs that are out there doing your bidding, making you look good.
There you go. There you go. There you go. But I think that's why it's important for people like looking to get into IT or whatever the situation might be. I understand coding might not be the sexiest thing on earth because it's really not, and it might not be the most. It might not even seem like something you care about, you're passionate about, whatever. But I would still just encourage people to like consider taking the time out, right? Even if it's not back end development or whatever, understand the nature of code, honestly, and just the nature of like how things kind of are created. Because yeah, man, it just opens up like if you're able to have that fluent communication with developers or understand the software development life cycle, um, it just opens your doors up for different careers like insanely, whether it's like business analyst. I mean there's just so many different things, right? You could move into project product. You've got the I mean QAs. I mean you've got so many different roles that don't necessarily require the insane programming skills,
Yep.
but having that experience though will help you get those jobs.
Dude, I know, Darren. I'm curious to see what you think about this because, like,
Yeah,
in my experience, I completely agree. Like the coding grind is a grind. Like you feel like you're just running from zombies like the whole time. Like I just gotta constantly keep my update. I'm gonna get steamrolled. Like
absolutely,
automation. Oh my God, they're coming.
absolutely.
Like so. But there is a moment where it's like, all right, do I want to do this for the rest of my runway here? Like, all right, I got 15, 20 more years of working years. Like, is this really what I want to do? I want to just be coding all the time. And to me, what I'm noticing is like the operational side of this, the management side, the even architecting, like the planning side of this is actually way more compatible with football than I would have expected. And like for everybody that doesn't know, you and I both played in college. So like to me, I'm sitting here like I'm looking at like the Bill Belichick's of the world, and I'm like
Absolutely.
taking lessons from them and translating it into things like approaches for IT management, because like really it's just,
Absolutely.
you know, what makes the Patriots good? Situational football. Well, 2nd and 3, this is how they do this. And if it was, you know, 2nd and 6, they would do this instead. And like all that situational, contextual, just be good at the fundamentals, take away what they do well, you know, kind
Mm-hmm.
of mentality. I just view it as a one for one with this, because it is like technical in the day to day, but it's really just leadership. Like
It
it's
is.
really just, it's just the brain behind, like it's who's pushing what direction, like what buttons, when, where, and why.
Yeah.
And that there's definitely like obviously a lot to learn on that front, but like it is pretty
Absolutely.
natural in that regard.
Absolutely. I would say the nature of the work definitely fits me better than the nature of development work, which is kind of like off on your own, knees fucking deep in documentation, research, like whatever you're doing, trying to just uncover problems, digging through console logs or error messages, bugs, stepping through code, right? Like you're just, it's a very investigative, isolated, lone wolf nature of work. Whereas this side I feel is way more collaborative just by nature, right? Because even if I'm managing a feature or whatever, anything like that, that involves other people, right? So like there's the person who I'm talking to, like who is, I don't want to say managing me, but in a way, like, yeah, like you manage me, and like, so I'm coordinating with her about this feature. I'm coordinating with the team about this feature. I could potentially be coordinating with other teams about this feature, right? So it's more, to your point, Justin, about it's more collaborative in camaraderie based work, in my opinion, because it might take more hands in the pot to make something happen. It's not
Yeah.
so much me just going off figuring out this thing. I might have to ping 4 people to arrive at this whatever I need. I might need access from this person to something. I might need
Yep.
approval from this person on something. I might need to get your thoughts on this from this person. So it's way more, like you said, leadership driven, I think, because
Yep.
it's up to you to take that initial step, send that first Slack message, put that meeting on that person's calendar, right? Have the right, bring the right information to the meeting to have an effective meeting, and walk away with the answers
Yep.
that you need to take back to your team. It is a much more like that. Like, yeah, I agree.
And honestly, I think a way you could say that conceptually is complementary football, right? Like you can win football games with a really conservative run based offense, a really good defense, and good special teams. You can win that way, but change any one of those pieces and the whole approach is different now. Like you can't, if you know, you can't have a bad defense and have a conservative offense, and you can't have a
Mm,
good offense and good defense and have a bad special teams. Like it takes
mm,
all three phases of the game to be
absolutely,
a good football team. You know, and then to
absolutely.
your point, like if your QAs suck, or not that not that they suck, but if they're not supported, or like they're
No,
they're
no, you're good.
behind, or
I
whatever,
mean,
you know.
check this out. The philosophy where I work is we don't believe in QAs.
Mm.
So there are no QAs. You know what I mean? It's the idea that if engineering and product does their job, that you won't need a QA, which is really interesting. For anybody watching the stream, completely different philosophy I had never heard of until I got to this place. But again, these are just philosophical differences. It doesn't necessarily
Yeah, it
mean
makes
that we're
sense.
right or anybody's right, but it's like, again, it's a perspective.
Well, yeah, because
Um
I mean, dude, at the end of the day, it was like working with like Dave at the whole place. Like, was that an enjoyable experience? Like he was good at his job. Like I get it, you know, that he was good at his role and all that, but like he was not an enjoyable person to work with, like
Well,
at
well, not
all.
even
You know.
not even just that. It's more about like there's an expectation of the developers to do their job. Like, so it's like if we give you these acceptance criteria, the idea is that it won't even make it to staging or whatever until those acceptance criteria are met. Once those acceptance criteria are met, product should be able to figure out if there's anything missing. And like between those two, there's no need for a QA. Like, and that's just the philosophy our CTO has. Not saying that that's correct, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But it's just what it is.
And it makes sense, like with what you were saying about microservices, because that was one of the other things too. Like why spend your time writing a bunch of all these tests when you can just kind of like alchemy a bunch of different microservices together for a desired effect, you know. And
Right.
and if it's broken, then just kill it and turn, you know, disposable razor the whole thing and just create a whole new one or a clone or whatever. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I've thought about doing that sort of thing with Razor at one point. like having Razor microservices stood up where they're just like, we're just little web pages that took post requests and whatnot. And I mean, like they would all be circled under one umbrella, and that umbrella would be taking care of all the containers that it's hosting. And it's just like a little service, that does that sort of thing. And it's like there's pages for it. It's very lightweight.
That's so interesting, dude. Like honestly, like I've got a book. It might even be with it. No, it's not. I have a book that like it makes its way to the bookshelf, and then it ends up on my desk, and then it's on my night table, and then it's back in my bookshelf, and like I'll be sitting there looking, and it's like I make eye contact with it, and it's just like a thick ass book about Linux. And I'm just like, I want to so bad. I want to like just give me like Linux, Docker on the cloud, like straight up. It makes me think of like Mysterio from Spider-Man, like just with all the drones flying around him, like these. Look at my army of containers. Like I just find that so cool. It's just like but
what do y'all think about this statement I heard from a senior that I worked with once? He's basically just describing like all this shit seems really complicated, really hard. Like it very much is. Like I'm not trying to like downplay the nature of the work, but like at the end of the day, though, he was saying essentially no matter where you work, no matter what you do in engineering, you're pretty much finding the data, getting the data, doing something to it, send it somewhere else. Like at the end of the day, like that's essentially that's all you end up really doing. Like, yes, there could be a million different services or tools that you have hoops to jump through in order to do that. But at the most basic level, in the engineering world anyway, like you're finding out where the data lives, getting it, doing something to it, sending it somewhere else. And that's essentially like the nature of the work. Leo, how do you like, what's your thoughts about that?
One more time with the question.
So basically I had a guy tell me once, he's a senior engineer. He was just saying like, at the end of the day, all you're really doing in these roles, like in engineering, is that you're finding, no matter what it is, where you work, you're just finding where the data is, getting it, doing something to it, send it somewhere else. Like if you take away all the complexities and strip everything down to its most basic element, he kind of just broke it down like that. What do you think about that?
I think that that's a very narrow way to look at it. Personally, like it's more about being able to connect the people that are doing the things that are helping you complete your product. If you look at it as just like, oh, it's just data. Do you know who made data? Us. We created data out of sand. Like when
well,
you really get down to it.
Yeah, I can certainly echo the like.
Glass.
I feel this moment like that comment when I'm staring at like a bunch of like C# repositories and like repository. Like I don't even. It makes me. It irritates me even having to think about this. Like you're trying to. I'm just trying to take one piece of data and get it to go up through here and down here. But in C# it requires like 13 files to do that. And like when I'm in that moment, that's where I'm just like, dude, couldn't I just write a node server and just fucking go? Like, God damn it, So I certainly feel that comment. You know what I mean? But it's obviously not. I don't think it's that simple. But
it's about what's easiest from point A to point B and what is most maintainable. At the end of the day, that's what people will like. It'll end up being simple unless you got to add more features to it. I mean, you could just waterfall that. Or not waterfall it. You'd sprint through that.
Yeah.
You'd sprint through like
even honestly, even that like we kind of all came up at a place that was like evangelical agile, where in your face, holy shit. And like actually where I've been since has actually been like people's interpretations are like way different. Like right now we're fighting like just getting sprints and like retros and that stuff established, because everybody's like just baked into their bad habits. Like, oh, we have a stand up, that's agile. Like we talk once for 5 minutes and then we just isolate for the rest of the day. And it's like, dude, like
what's really agile to me is like what I have in my current role is we are just going in and we say something such as like, working on this today, like, and then we would do it, and if we can deliver on that with evidence, that's fine. That's all they needed to know,
Yeah, that's crazy. I have a friend right now who's doing IT project management, and her team does stand up in Microsoft Teams. So they straight up just like put notes in a chat, which is absolutely terrible. I'm not saying anyone should do that. It's awful, but I'm just saying that like yes, there's a lot of different outlooks on what that scrum, like this whole scrum rituals process, like what everything looks like. Like right now we do our retros in as Miro boards. I don't know if you guys have, you've probably heard of Miro, but anybody out there, Miro, Miro.com. It's basically just like a little wireframing or mock-up type of website, and we just use like little templates in there to do our retros, stuff like that. So story pointing is another big one. Right now, trying to get a consensus around story pointing, like what do the values of the story points mean?
That's a one. That's a one. That's a one.
Yeah, because if you don't, exactly, because if there's no consensus around what the points actually mean, it's like what value do you really get out of it, right? So like that's something I'm trying to spearhead right now with the team, is like getting everybody on the same page about like what do we agree upon. Because you find is like there's a lot of different issues with doing things a certain way. So like not everyone's a fan of time, right? Like everyone's not a fan of measuring things in time, because time for Justin won't be time for Leo. It won't be the same time for me. So like they're not really a fan of that. But the thing is that the story point has to account for like risk and the amount of effort. But how do you like really get down to what quantifies risk? What quantifies effort? You know what I mean? Is it number of days on something, spent on something? So
yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of different,
I don't think everybody's really even clear, like not here, I mean, just in general about like what it provides you. Like, so like, because developers are generally lazy. So like, I have to add hours estimation and then burn down and I have to do all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but if you do this, we now have the ability to plan. Like business and professionals love planning things. So if we can do this, we can establish better relations with them. And like there's a whole, like everybody's kind of got to be all in. Like it's a very like intentional thing from what I'm seeing. Like regardless of how you go about it, it needs to be
definitely
definitive. Like this is how we're going about it. This is why we're doing it. Everybody is on the same page.
Of course, 100%. Because I think a lot of times developers may not see the value in story pointing, because for them it's like it doesn't really matter. It's just for the business
extra
to kind
work.
of be exactly. But I think there is a benefit to developers, like to your point, Justin, about planning. So if we know how many story points we're able to, first of all, if we know what our story points mean, and we're able to accurately or like close to accurately like estimate our work, right? Then eventually we know about how many points we can handle in a given sprint. Right. So during planning, we can know how many stories from the backlog potentially to bring in, right? Or if there's like people gone. So like it's Thanksgiving or it's about to be Christmas. There's going to be a lot of people out PTO. Okay, how do we account for that in our sprint planning? Do we still just bring in random amounts of shit and just hope that we get it all done? Or now if you know how much each person can kind of like take on from a story point perspective, like you can still accurately bring in enough work for the team without overworking everybody based on whoever's going to be out, just from a capacity perspective. But
my take on story points is that it really does depend on the competency of the developer itself.
It does. And that's what makes it hard to get a consensus around what does a story point mean, because it might what something means for you might not be.
It's a variable.
It's hard. It's tough. Yeah.
And it's like
a variable sometimes.
A lot of developers are really like, they're not. I don't want to call them.
They're not great.
Justin, they're ego sensitive. Yeah, like ego sensitive, I guess. Where it's like, this is a 1 for me, but this is a 4 for Leo, and it's just like, what the fuck?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Supposed to be? Like, like, dude, do you know how much crypto I own, bro? And it just gets really.
I'll see you out the story with less story points. No, I'm just joking around.
Right, because that's the other way of looking at it, right? Like, there's so many ways that can go horribly wrong, And I did notice, like, working remotely, like when we were all working together, it was in person, so we could, like, we all sat next to each other at a certain points in time where you're like every day for 8 hours you're sitting there. What I did notice is like building rapport is so much harder remotely. Like as much as the advantages like that the remote work brings, like, and I love them. My routine is just on point. Thank you, dude. Shout out to the Dilbert book, dude. Like I straight up, that was a total game changer.
That's what's
But
up, man. I'm glad.
there are drawbacks and team building, like more so than like rapport. I would just call it trust, where it's like, oh yeah, like it's really gameable to just get on a chat and be like, oh yeah, today I'm doing just some word vomit, and then just fuck off and play video games all day. And it's harder to catch people doing that kind of bullshit. But it is sort of like when you're not in the same space, there is sort of a loss there. And I don't really
It is.
know how to quantify the loss, but
Frankly,
it's a non-zero number.
Frankly, what I've taken is that if you're doing what you need to do, you can do whatever the hell else you want with your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And Justin, with that, I agree with that too. Like, I think it's just some of the spontaneity that you would get in the office, right? So like, so we might not know Leo, but in the office, we might be like going and grabbing lunch together, or we bump into him just walking to the, you know what I mean? And we just start having a conversation. So I'm not just pinging you on the side because I need you to help me out right now. Whereas I feel like that's kind of because what other way do you? I mean, I don't just go around pinging people like, "Hey, hello, I'm such and such." I mean, I so in all fairness, I did book one-on-ones with everybody, but that like just to meet them like in a 15-30 minute setting. But that's
Yeah.
because like just the nature of like it benefits me to know who I'm working with and talk to them for a second, even if 30 minutes just one-on-one.
Yeah.
But still, to your point, it's just like the whole going through the whole process, like hitting somebody on Slack, finding time on both of our calendars for us to set aside time to just hop in a Zoom and just chat virtually for like 30 minutes. Even though that's better than nothing, it still isn't the same as just bumping into somebody down the hall, walking down the hallway with them, sitting, having a snack, doing this, doing that. Like, so
Yeah.
it does take some of that human interaction out of it. It's just not the same over Slack or over
I
Microsoft Teams or
I
whatever.
do like as a potential fix. I do kind of like the way the X team runs, and it's basically like 100% remote for everybody all the time across the board, period, right? But then they actually purchase like an Airbnb that like rotates continents that
Mm-hmm.
everybody can just go to if they want. And then
Mm-hmm.
they'll also do like events at those things. So like, hey, we rented a condo or like a big beach house in Miami or whatever. If you want to go there, you can.
Mm-hmm.
We're having a company meeting there from this day to this day, which you can also attend virtually, but you can come in person if you
Exactly.
want.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously COVID complicates that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I think doing like events, like dude, like I meant, like if we all were on a dev team, we're working together, we're remote like this, okay, yeah, and humdrum day-to-day routine, but then like every quarter we went on like a whitewater rafting trip or some shit, like
Mm-hmm.
that would be one that would just be fun. That would just be an awesome thing to do.
Yeah.
But you can tell me you don't trust somebody after you've like went down the rapids with them, like,
I
like it's
mean,
got to
yeah.
build trust.
I mean, yeah, I definitely think that would be interesting to see like how retention works out for these companies with remote work. You know what I mean? Like, will retention go up, or will it be harder to keep people? I think it really just depends because we had a lot of turnover at my last spot, but I think that's because the culture. You know what I mean? There wasn't very much
Yeah,
enthusiasm around anything that I could see.
I'd like to see
Uh,
the interview process go with more of like an apprenticeship sort of like um, working tryout kind of like uh, approach to hiring people. Like, hey, you're a potential candidate. Like, we're gonna put you like come in for a day. We'll pay you for your time. Work
mhm,
with this person, and then like you get a better feel of like who they actually are. I
mhm.
know people were doing that in person prior to the remote shit, but um, I think it's way more compatible. Like, it's easier to do that now because all you got to do is get someone a link to a Teams meeting, and
Yeah,
they could be working with you. Like, even if it's an interview candidate, I think we'll see some change on that front too because I think people are finally starting to realize, like, at least I hope they're starting to realize that just because Google and Amazon are doing it, that it's not a one-to-one fit for what they're doing.
right.
Which I have noticed as well. There seems to be sort of a default, like, well, this is what the big dogs do. Therefore, it's like, how many like requests Google processes per minute compared to what we're doing? Like, come on, dude. Like, we're not.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah, it's
same
not
same with
us. I
Amazon.
promise it's
Yeah,
not us.
yeah. Same with Amazon too. Yeah, I agree. And we got a comment from Squared Mo saying sounds like a good bonding experience. I think he was talking about the stuff we were saying about the virtual um stuff. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's different, but but I still wouldn't trade it, man, for like a morning commute or just any of the other things that came with the physical, you
Dude, I
know.
ditched my car, man, with the
Me
car
too.
and
I
car
haven't had a car
insurance. It's
since June.
like
I haven't had a car since
extra six
June.
hundred dollars a month.
No,
Like,
literally,
boom,
mine. Same
gone.
for me. Same for me. Because we live in Michigan, where I don't know. Most people don't know. It's like very well. I live in Michigan. Justin's in Tennessee right now, but Michigan has like the highest car insurance like in the United States. It's absolutely crazy.
Laughably so, like by a long shot. It's not even close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not even close. It's crazy. So I agree. I haven't had a car since June. Um, but yo, so fellas, we're at 1 hour and 40 minutes. We ran over a little bit, but it's been a great conversation just in general. Leo, thank you for hopping on, man. I want to let y'all both kind of just wrap up with conclusive thoughts for anybody on the stream. It could be tips, it could be takeaways, last words, whatever you want to say, because y'all each just kind of wrap up your thoughts to the people.
I mean, I don't got much, man. I mean, I didn't want to intrude on the chat, but I knew you guys might have wanted some more content for the whole thing, you know.
No, it's been great, man. Thank you, Leo. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll,
Yeah. I
I'll be
would
signing off then, guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Take
later,
it
man.
easy.
Yeah,
See
you
you.
get catching on, man. Yeah. I mean, I would say like if you're still in developer mode and you're just grinding, trying to grow, anything that's like cloud based, or the your traditional cloud based backend front end stuff, just all things cloud basically, and then like JavaScript's never a bad one. That's my personal favorite, and any one of the frameworks that go with it.
Mhm.
Mobile, maybe something like that. But you also want to make sure that you don't pigeonhole yourself into a career that you can't or are going to want to sustain over a
Mm.
20-year period of time, because that's kind of where I'm at. It's like it's been 5 years, it's been a grind, and I've really enjoyed learning this technical stuff, but
Mhm. Mhm.
there's more to life. It's not all just about learning, getting really good at React or whatever.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm finding now, like once you start cross the threshold of like, okay, all my bills are paid, like, all right, now I
Mhm.
need to start thinking about where I'm investing my money and all that kind of. So there's
Exactly. Exactly.
other things to learn and stuff. So don't try to do everything in tech to the point where it consumes everything else in your life. Is what
Of
I would
course,
that'd be.
absolutely. That's a
Yeah.
that's a really important one. I'll put this up real quick. Square Mo again. Thanks for sharing the knowledge and thanks for hopping on, man. Definitely no. Thank you for dropping by, being with us, watching, man. We really appreciate it. We do this for y'all.
Yeah.
Glad it could be helpful. Um, but yeah, man, I can't agree with that more. Like I still think I would tell anyone I was screaming from the mountaintops, like learning the code is one of the best decisions. Going to coding boot camp, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire
Hands
life.
down. Yep.
Changed my career trajectory, changed my earning potential, gave me skill sets that will take me into the future, keep me competitive, keep you know what I mean. So 100%. But to Justin's point, I wasn't passionate about coding, and I have other skills and abilities that just weren't being leveraged or weren't being utilized as a developer. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that if your goal or your dream is to be a developer, to be a really good developer, to be a senior engineer. There's nothing wrong with that. But little did I know those other skills and things those other skills and things that I enjoy doing. Hopefully Justin can jump back on. I don't know what happened right there. Maybe he lost his connection. But the other things that I enjoy doing were also still very valuable. You know what I mean? Like they weren't valuable to my role as a software engineer. I got you, Justin. Bring you in. No, yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Job.
You're good. But the other skills that I had that I wasn't getting to use as an engineer, which is like writing, people skills, business strategy, all those things weren't valuable as an
Yep.
engineer, but they are valuable just in a different role and a different function. I had to, do my own career development, my own, taking certifications, like Justin mentioned, PMP. I had to take my own route to kind of leverage and get myself into that interview spot and to be able to, get into those roles. But it doesn't, my point is that other skills are still valuable. You know what I mean? It's not all about just code and deploying and being the greatest developer. There are so many other skills that are soft skills, being able to communicate, rally a team together, get people to work together. I
Yep.
mean, communicate complex technical ideas. Those are all really, really, really valuable skills, and people will pay you for it. But you have to be honest about your own skills, your own interests, and you got to go for it. You know what I mean? Like you got to
Yep.
you got to just put yourself in position to go out there and get it.
And the one thing that I would say that's like universal that across everything that I've noticed is reading. Like I kind of have to read in my free time as well, or I start like imploding. Like that's just the way my brain works. But what I've noticed is like the people that I see doing well are the people that read. They're like, yeah, it's not comfortable. Nobody wants to sit around reading all the time, but that's why people don't do it. So like it's actually kind of a superpower in a way,
Mm,
where like, oh yeah, I'm in the Vue documentation every day reading about
mm,
Vue. And so when a Vue question comes up, yeah, I know a lot about this because I read about it
mm.
all the time. Or whether it be investments or whether it be like whatever you're doing, put in the work, because I noticed that there are people out there that are risk of or pain averse, in a world where
Mhm.
everything's so customizable and easy,
Absolutely.
and like the just rolling their
Mhm.
sleeves up. Oh yeah, I read this entire textbook this weekend or whatever. Like
Absolutely.
that's an actual superpower. I know I'm borderline masochistic with that stuff, but like I have noticed it paying dividends in both myself and other people. So
Yeah,
you
and
know,
and to your point, I mean, not even for me, just not even just textbooks. One thing that's been really helpful for me, man, is Reddit.
yeah,
Joining Reddit communities surrounding whatever the thing is, man, because I feel like Reddit communities help you just get to the relevant shit faster. Like those
yeah.
people have already been there, they've already done that, they're having real conversations. It's like being in a room with all the people you wish you could be in a room with, and they're answering the questions that you need to know, and it's just no bullshit, straight to it, and they're getting to it.
Yeah, and I would
So I
even add
agree.
open source. I would add open source projects to that as well. Like honestly, like, oh, you want to get better at accounting? Well, there's a bunch of open source free accounting tools that you
Absolutely.
can just download and start using immediately. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
pretty great. That's my probably open source projects are probably my like biggest hope moving forward, because
Mm-hmm.
like to me it's actual like effective democracy at work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't get to see too many good examples of it working these
Yeah,
days.
that's
So
yeah.
like, the fact when it does work, it's a good thing.
Absolutely. Square Mo, one more time. Yes, after watching your videos, I also ended up going to full stack boot camp and opened so many doors as well, man. I'm super glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's
Honestly,
awesome.
yeah, because like I said, man, boot camp changed my life, but it's not like there's no one size fits all. You know what I mean? Like there's obviously a cost associated with coding boot camp. It may not be for everybody. The pace of it might not be for everybody. Some people do go the self-taught route. They do so many different things, you know. So it might not be for everybody, but that's why I like having Justin on. I'm glad Leo could jump on because we just really share our real experience. We're not suggesting that you take this particular approach, but I think just sharing the information, letting people know like what's possible, what real people from non-technical or computer science backgrounds, like what it really has looked like. To your point, Justin, hasn't been easy either. Like getting to that mid-level point, I think people graduate boot camp and think that they should qualify for like 75, 80,000 because I know how to code now. And it's like, you got to understand, man, there's baby steps to this stuff, man. And it all comes from some of those painful experiences, whether it's a job or on your own. You need that pain to kind of qualify you for the big bucks down the road so you can know how
Yep.
to solve hard problems.
And honestly, just like career, like if I was getting into the game now, because everything's so much more remote than it was when we started, like the option of like, okay, if you're a junior developer and you can get one job at 55,000 a year, you can kind of sit back and let your skill set grow a little bit slowly, a little bit
Mm,
more slow. Because for us, without the remote option, it was basically like single job, single salary. Like
mm-hmm,
and you could only through getting a promotion or hopping and climbing up the ladder could you
mm-hmm,
increase your income. But now
mm-hmm.
as a junior developer, if you get one junior developer job, who's to stop you from getting two if you can manage your day to day? And now you went from 55 to 110 overnight, right?
Especially as a
For
developer where you don't necessarily have to be in so many damn meetings and stuff, like
Yep,
where you can actually be a little bit low key and just pump out code.
yep, and it'd be like, okay, like I don't obviously don't do that up front. Once you're in your first job and you start to feel comfortable, that the option to pick up a second is even on the table, and that wasn't even there when we started. So I mean, like
Absolutely.
this is change is inevitable. Change is going to be faster than ever, and it's going to continue to like just keep going, keep going. Like just we're that's my advice. Just keep on going,
Absolutely.
onwards
Absolutely.
and upwards.
Yeah, man. So yeah, Square Mo, man, we appreciate you for just being with us, leaving the comments, engaging, man. Everybody who came through, we appreciate y'all so much. Justin, you're the man, brother. Let's definitely connect again soon, just offline, and let's just keep in touch about the,
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
yeah, dude.
everything.
Honestly, I'm getting ready to start the PMP prep stuff. So
Perfect.
I wouldn't mind hopping back on and having a conversation about that once
Yeah,
I'm a little
beautiful,
more into it.
beautiful. Yeah, man, I love it, bro. And I definitely want to keep as you go through this. I think it'd be great. because you're going through the transition right now. So I think
Yeah,
just
yep.
like it'd be great, bro. And you already know I'm here anytime. So yeah, I'll definitely be pinging you, bro. We'll be talking over the
Okay,
holidays.
yeah, and hit me up with the digital nomad ideas because I'm on the exact same page. Like,
Oh, bro, we
I'm
gotta
trying to
talk.
bounce
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. I forgot. Oh yeah, we gotta talk. We gotta talk. We're gonna be in touch. All right, for sure. All right. Thanks, y'all. We appreciate y'all, man. We'll catch y'all next stream. Peace,
Right on.
everybody.
Yeah,
All right.
take care.
Peace.